This video and recipe comes from the Disney Parks Cookbook, and it's a Disneyland inspired recipe, and it's Rainbow Sprinkle Whoopie Pies. I'll put a picture there. They're chocolate whoopie pies, basically with a white chocolate mousse. And I will say, I grew up in Pennsylvania Dutch country. I'm picky about my whoopie pies. I love a good whoopie pie, but I'm fussy about how good they are. This one's different because it uses the mousse for a filling instead of an icing. So I'll be curious how these turn out, but let's get started. First up, I am making the whoopie pie part, the cake part, the outer parts of it. So I've got my mixing bowl here, and I have some flour that I'm putting in because it says to make sure that the flour is sifted into the bowl. So I have to use, it looks like 2 cups of this that I will sift into the bowl. Now I have some chocolate cocoa powder, and I am sifting it into the bowl the same way I did with the flour. Once that's in, I'll stir it all together. I put that bowl aside, and now I have another mixing bowl here where I'm going to start working on some of the more wet ingredients, I'll call them. And first up, I have some vegetable shortening, or just some Crisco, that I'm going to put into a bowl. Now I'm putting some light brown sugar in with the shortening. The next ingredient is I have some baking soda. And then I'm getting ready to put in some salt. Now the next step is I have my hand mixer here, and I am blending these ingredients together until they're creamy. Now that that's blended, I just added an egg to the mix, and I am going to blend that egg as well as some vanilla that I'm getting ready to prepare and add to it, and I will get that until it's all blended together. So here I have some milk, and what I'm supposed to do is take this mixture now and alternate between adding some milk and then adding in some of the flour and cocoa mixture and beating it as I go. So you can see here, I'm adding a little bit of flour mixture in, making sure it like kind of mixes in together before I go back into adding a little bit more of the milk or a little bit more of the cocoa powder. Here is the chocolate whoopie pie cake mixture part done. So here I have a parchment lined baking sheet, and I'm using a tablespoon and my clean fingers to help kind of shape these into circles. And a couple of these I'll add a little bit more dough to just to try to get them even. Once they're good and round, I will cook them in the oven at 350 degrees for about 10 minutes. Okay, so here is the first batch of whoopie pies out of the oven. I'm going to let them cool. Okay, so here I have a bowl of 2 tablespoons of water, and then this is just some powdered gelatin I'm supposed to sprinkle in this. And let it set for about 5 minutes, it says. Okay, so this is the part I'm most nervous about, because the last time I tried doing something like this, it didn't go too well, but I think I knew what I did wrong. So basically, I want to melt this white chocolate, and I've got this bowl here, and this is kind of what this is designed for. And I've got this pan of water here. It's just a little bit of water. I'm going to wait for it to simmer, and then I'm going to sit this on top and hope that it helps melt it. Now, I think the last time I did this is I added way too much water, because the water's not supposed to touch this. So I've kind of stuck it in a few times, moved it around, not getting any water in the bottom. So I think I'm okay with just a little bit of water there. So hopefully, fingers crossed, this goes well. If this fails, it's only half a cup. I may just try melting it in the microwave, but I want to do it the proper way. So let's see how it goes. Okay. So the water's starting to steam a little bit. It's not boiling. So I think this would be with simmer. So I'm going to kind of put this on here and keep an eye on this and hope that this chocolate melts properly. It does say to stir this frequently, so that's what I'm doing here, trying to keep up with keeping it melted. Don't want it to burn. think the key with this is also patience. That might have been why I messed it up before. I'm probably not always my strong suit. Let's just say it that way. And it's starting to melt. Woohoo. Getting excited. I feel like I did something right. Let's not jinx myself. And I think that might be about as good as I'm going to get it. I don't want to risk burning it. All right, we'll move on. Right here I've got this gelatin mixture. It said to microwave it for 10 seconds till the gelatin is dissolved, and then stir it till it's dissolved. So let's just stir all this till the gelatin is dissolved. All right, so over here I've got eggs and sugar that I'm going to bleak together until it's a pale yellow. Hopefully that's pale yellow enough. So now I'm going to add in the gelatin mix. Now beat this to combine. All right. Now we add in the white chocolate. Beat this together. Hopefully I let that chill enough. Doesn't seem like it's scrambling the eggs or anything. As I say, that was probably still a little warm going in. Might have been a rookie mistake. Here I have my KitchenAid mixer, and I just put some heavy cream in there, and then I'm just going to let this whip until it makes basically like a whipped topping. Now we fold in the whipped topping. This is to lastly add some crushed chocolate sandwich cookies, which I'm like, the picture of the whoopie pies look white, like the middle. This I don't think is going to keep a white color, but I could be wrong. All right, yep, so I'm gonna put this in the fridge and let this sit for a little bit. It doesn't say to do that, but again, I think it seems very runny to me, and I think it's just because the chocolate was still a little too warm when I put it into the mix. So I'm gonna let this set for a little bit. Okay, so it's assembly time. I have one of my halves of the whoopie pie, and I have my filling mix, and I let that sit in the fridge for a good hour or so to try and help it thicken up. But sadly, I think it's still a little bit runny. See here, got the second half, and I'm supposed to roll it in sprinkles. And as I do this, I am noticing that the filling is just falling out everywhere, and you can kind of see it there on the plate. So back into the fridge the filling goes. After another hour or so, here is attempt number 2. I didn't put the sprinkles on the plate this time. I'm just kind of feeling it out. I can see that the filling is definitely a little thicker, but it's not the right texture that I would expect to put in the middle of a cake. So basically what I end up doing is putting these all together and then just wrapping them individually in plastic wrap. That way, if anything started to fall out and leak, it wouldn't be all over each other because, yeah, it just wasn't going well. I'm trying to do the sprinkles on the side, as you can see here, and tricky with it because they're just falling out. So I'm done. Summary review time for the Rainbow Sprinkle Whoopie Pies. So they were really good and tasty. Like, they lived up to my whoopie pie standards that I have. However, as you saw, that filling, that white chocolate mousse, just befuddled me. I had it in the fridge a couple times for very long periods of time, and it just never set up to like a mousse or a thicker consistency. It was just more like a regular pudding, you know? It never got super solid. I don't know if that's a couple factors. Like, one, there's powdered gelatin in this recipe that it calls for, and I don't know if it called for enough. It only said for 1/4 of a teaspoon of powdered gelatin. I don't know if that's a lot. I felt like it could have used a little bit more.
However, I also recognize it could have completely been user error and not the people that wrote this recipe's fault. Maybe I added the white chocolate when it was still a little too warm. Maybe I didn't beat the heavy cream or too much or overbeated it. I don't know. But something definitely went wrong with that mousse. Now, it didn't diminish from the flavor. Like I said, it was really, really good. The chocolate whoopie pie cookie / cake part, it was kind of a combination between cookie and cake, was really, really quite tasty. So let's get into the rankings based on that. So first are the ingredients on a scale of 1 to 5, and that's a combination of cost and how difficult are they to find. I think this is a 2. Nothing's super really hard to find, and it doesn't really necessarily cost you a lot of money. And some of these basic things like the purpose flour, the cocoa powder, shortening, brown sugar, you might have a lot in your pantry already if you bake every so often. Difficulty level on a scale of 1 to 5, and again, that's the combination of how difficult was this as well as time. So, I feel like I got to give this a 3, maybe even a 3.5. That white chocolate mousse is a little complex. You've got to melt the white chocolate and temper it. That's a skill, and then you got to make the heavy cream and then put all that stuff together. It doesn't seem hard, but clearly I did something wrong. So I think it definitely needs to be ranked a little higher. So maybe I actually should give it even a 4. Yeah, I'm gonna give 4. 4. Never mind. 4. I think that's a fair, based on everything else, that's a fair assessment because of that. And then would I make this again on a scale of 1 to 5, with 1 being never and 5 being absolutely? Surprisingly, I'm gonna give it a 4. I really did like it. Now, the whoopie pie part itself, the chocolate whoopie pie, were delicious. So I will absolutely make those again someday, especially if I want whoopie pies. It's the filling part that I'm like, I don't know if I will try this white chocolate mousse again. I'm kind of on the fence. Like I said, the flavors are there, but it's just never set up. But I may just do like a regular icing, basically. Like I might just do like a regular vanilla icing or even a peanut butter icing or something instead. I think might work really, really well. But again, I did love that chocolate whoopie pie part. I thought it was really quite excellent. I really liked the texture. It was somewhere between like a cake and a cookie. It almost kind of reminded me even of a brownie a little bit. There's just something about it that was just really, really tasty that I'm like, yeah, I will do that again. It's that filling. I'm just not sure. If you've had this cookbook, if you've made this recipe, let me know what I did wrong. I would really appreciate it. All right, thanks.